Hello and welcome to the very first devlog for currently untitled point and click adventure game. My name is Adam and I'm going to make a game. So what's the aim here? Well, as a long-standing fan of point and click adventure games, like dating back to the LucasArts Monkey Island and Revolution Broken Sword kind of era, I've always been drawn towards the idea of making one and often thought about it, but I figure that with the whole global population on coronavirus lockdown and potentially staying that way for a number of months, now might be a good chance to kick things off. So what's my background in gaming? Not a lot. Other than playing, I've played through the old era point and click games, a lot of the modern era stuff that's now available on the iPad, which is a great experience. But in terms of actually coding, I can't code. I can draw a bit. I'm a writer by trade, so I'm hoping that will help. I'm a bit of a jack of all, master of none. And really, I want to see if it's possible to put some of those skills together, learn the ones I don't have, and make a fully functioning game. Now, I'm not an idiot. I know this is going to take a very long time. My conservative estimates put that time at 2 years, probably 3. But if something's worth doing, then sometimes it's worth really doing. Not that I'm naive to think that I would be the next kind of Stardew Valley developer, but I quite like the appeal of sinking a decent wedge of time into something like this as a one-man band and seeing how far I can get. So imagine you're in the same boat. You want to make a fully functioning point and click adventure game. Where do you start? I'm going to start on Trello, I think. So what I've done here is I've mapped out very naively and very broad strokes the kind of jobs that I think I need to do. So Trello is an idea I actually stole from Randall, whose devlogs you can also follow and I think are really good. So what I've got here is a column for things to do, doing and done. Now this is going to change massively over the course of development, and obviously this list here is not exhaustive and very, very simple, but I try to just kind of cover the basics and think about what might need to be done. So currently doing the things I've started to do, which I'll come back to in a minute, are a puzzle dependency chart and a design document. Again, I'll cover those in a second, but when I've finished those two things, I will be able to create a list of the artwork that's needed. Creating the backgrounds for the whole game I feel like is a good step to do, because that will put me too far in to give up. Then draw test items and a main character inventory system, and then kind of a menu system, and then kind of prototype the room in Adventure Game Studio. From there it's draw everything else, animate everything that needs to be animated, actually build or code the game together with the rooms, write all the dialogue trees. Music, very simple in this list, it's going to be very difficult. Voiceovers, ditto. Sound effects, ditto, and then build all that in and test it. So obviously that's a very simple version of what needs to happen, but it's good to start somewhere. So puzzle dependency chart, design document, that's where we're at currently. So when it comes to point and click adventure games, they live and die on their puzzles and how those are set up. And obviously there's a couple of schools of thought with that. I don't want to dip into moon logic too much, but I also don't want to be kind of totally straight-laced. I do enjoy sort of like funny games and more serious ones, but I think this game I've got in mind is probably going to be on the sillier side. So I started doing some research about kind of where to start almost, and found some good resources which I'll link in the description. So puzzle dependency charts are kind of the building blocks for your puzzles. So the example here from Grumpy Gamer, we've got unlock basement door, you need to find the key. So you start with what you need to do and work backwards, and then build in dependencies or kind of hijinks between find the key and open the door, or that stops you from getting that key, and then build out backwards from there. So did a bit more research, came across a few cool forums where somebody had mapped out the entire of Monkey Island 2, which I think is a perfectly designed adventure game, save for a couple of dodgy puzzles, which really shows the overall flow of the whole game. And again, this is simplified. What you've got is to start with 2 objectives: defeat Largo, charter the ship, and the dependencies that spiral out from there. This top section here is Act 1. Act 2, when you leave the island and you have to secure 4 map pieces. That's where things kind of spread outwards and become more complicated. And then things kind of bottleneck a bit towards the end and go a bit more linear. So that's Monkey Island 2. I found also Grim Fandango's basically game design document. It's called Puzzle Document here. And this is a monster document with every cutscene and puzzle described in detail. But it's got some really cool diagrams for each year of the game in terms of the core structure and in terms of how linear or how non-linear certain areas are, along with some cool artwork and building design maps. So from there, and a bit more research done, I kind of decided that what I needed to do was make something like that myself, really. Before I even think about artwork or coding or anything like that, I think the number one thing is, what is this game about and how does it look and how does it flow? Like, can you build the whole game as a document? So I started to do that. So I got untitled point-and-click adventure game design document with, so the first step is a game narrative overview, which I've blurred here for spoiler reasons, and then the layout of the game itself, all of which in my game will take place in one building. Then tutorial Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3 with plot points, puzzle dependency charts, characters and item list. And I figure if I can get all this done, then that will put us in a good spot to really crack on in a meaningful way. So, puzzle dependency chart, I'm using a bit of software called Lucid Chart. And I'm not going to zoom in too close on this because, again, spoilers. But you can see here that largely I've followed a quite similar model to Monkey Islands, where tutorial is quite linear, then Act 1 less linear but not so crazy, and then Act 2 things really open up. I haven't obviously done Act 3, that's still a work in progress, but I'm pleased with where this is going, and I think it's got using Monkey Island 2 as a good base or a good starting point to kind of inspire the general flow of the game. I think this is getting to be where it needs to be. I say that knowing that this will probably completely change by the time all's said and done, but that's where we are right now. So how are we going to make the game? So obviously there are lots of bespoke game engines now, and actually there are a couple out there designed specifically for adventure games. Visionaire Studio is a great one, and it's actually one that I've used before, so this isn't my first attempt at making a game like this. A friend of mine and I actually started working together on one a couple of years ago, which we sort of abandoned because life got in the way. But we used Visionaire Studio at that point, and a lot of the big adventure game studios use this software because it's quite graphically intuitive, and you can just kind of dump your backgrounds and your characters and your animations and point everything to everything else. And so, a couple of years ago we made this kind of test game, which is, there's a guy in a room and you've got to take the bottle and give the bottle to the chef, and then you solve the puzzle. And that was fine, and it worked, but I feel like I might be overreaching with it because it's, as it says on its website, it's very sophisticated. Now, Adventure Game Studio, or AGS, has been around for a long time. In terms of marketing, it doesn't look quite as fancy as Visionaire, but I've played a bunch of games on my iPad recently that have been made using this that I think are really cool and in line with the kind of thing that I want to make. I've played Cathy Rain and Whispers of a Machine by Clifftop Games, and I've played Gemini Rue by Wadjet Eye Games, which is also really cool, and I've played Techno Babylon, which is also really good, and they were all made using Adventure Game Studio. So I think from what I gather, this might be a simpler thing to unravel than Visionaire Studio. I could be wrong about that, but we'll cross that bridge as and when we get to it. So yeah, that's where we're at really for Devlog 1. Design document underway. Game flow puzzle dependency chart is underway, and from there I will be able to build out the rest of the document, list all the items, all the characters, all the rooms, and then start thinking about the nightmare that is artwork. So cool, thanks for joining. This is a safe space and a relaxed space, and I hope to maintain these videos over the next months and years, let's say. And actually the reason I'm doing these videos is to try and help me continue this project, because we all know starting projects is fun, finishing them nightmare. So you never know, if a few people end up following this and enjoying the updates, then that will give me all the more reason to continue. So thanks very much, guys. Let me know if you are starting your own project in a similar vein, any tips you might have for me, or anything else, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.